Bugungi darsimizda Cambridge 15 test 3ning 3-passage'i Why fairy tales are really scary tales degan mavzuni ko'rib chiqamiz. Paragraph or whatever it is. Bunda demak fairy tales demak nima degani fairy tales? Bu hikoyalar scary tales qo'rqinchli hikoyalar degan ma'noni anglatar ekan. O'shani birgalikda ko'rib chiqishga harakat qilar ekanmiz va bu qismda birinchi navbatda savollarga qarab olishimiz kerak. O'zingiz ko'rganingizdek savollarda matching information, matching things or matching whatever it is, matching, and 32, 36 we have multiple, like this is also matching. Hammasi matching again. Phylogenetic analysis of Little Red Riding Hood. Undan keyin esa multiple choice savollari bor ekan. Bu eng qiyin savol turlari birgalikda kelibdi. Mana bu summary completion. Demak, bu qism hamma joyda keladi. Shu mumkin. Masalan, birinchi paragraf, birinchi savolimiz birinchi paragrafda, ikkinchi savolimiz uchinchi paragrafda kelishi mumkin. Bunda ham katta ehtimollik bilan shunaqa bo'ladi. Multiple choice ham katta ehtimollik bilan shunaqa bo'ladi. Shuning uchun ham men birinchi navbatda tekstni o'qib olaman. Shunaqa qilsam hammaga yaxshi bo'ladi. Tekstni o'qiyman, tushunaman. Kerakli bo'lgan, men o'zim tushungan ma'lumotlarimni summary sifatida joylashtiraman. Undan keyin ko'ramiz. Okay, got it. I don't need note mode. Xo'p, ketdik. Demak, boshlaymiz. Buni anonsini o'zgartirib qo'ydim men. Endi boshlasak bo'ladi. Xo'p, people of every culture tell each other fairy tales, but the same story often takes a variety of forms in different parts of the world. Okay, varieties of form in different parts. In the story of Little Red Riding Hood that European children are familiar with, a young girl on the way to see her grandmother meets a wolf and tells him where she's going. The wolf runs on ahead and disposes of grandmother. Disposes of degani xalos bo'lish, yeb qo'yish. Then gets into bed, dressed in the grandmother's clothes to wait for Little Red Riding Hood. You may think that you know the story, but which version? In some versions, the wolf swallows up the grandmother. Damn it. The wolf swallows the grandmother, while in others it locks her in a cupboard. In some stories, Red Riding Hood gets the better of the wolf on her own, while on the others a hunter or a woodcutter hears her cries and comes to her rescue. Hope demak bu qismda Little Red Riding Hoodni analiz berilgan ekan. Universal appeal of these tales is frequently attributed to the ideas as they contain cautionary message. Cautionary message keyword bu qismda. In the case of Little Red Riding Hood, to listen to your mother and avoid talking to strangers. Okay, listen to your mom, avoid talking to strangers. It might be what we find interesting about this story is that it's got its survival relevant information in it. Relevant information in it, says anthropologist Jamie Tahlil. Demak, bu qismda qiziqligini sababi chunki survival, ya'ni omon qolishga aloqador bo'lgan ma'lumotlarni o'z ichida saqlaganligi ekan. But his research suggests otherwise. We have this huge gap in our knowledge about history and prehistory of storytelling. Huge gap, history and prehistory of storytelling, despite the fact that we know this genre is an incredibly ancient. What he says, I'm sorry. Maybe. It hasn't stopped anthropologists, folklorists, and other academics devising theories to explain the importance of fairy tales in human society. Anthropologists, folklorists, and other academics devising theories to explain the importance. It hasn't stopped and devising theories. Bular o'sha gap borligi, ma'lumotlarda, fikrlarda va teoriyalarda gap borligi, demak bo'shliq borligi antropologlarni yoki o'sha odamlarni, masalan, folkloristlarni, boshqa akademiklarni devising theories, teoriyalar berishda muhimligi haqidagi, masalan, to explain the importance of fairy tales in human society. O'shaning muhimligi, ahamiyatini tushuntirib beradigan teoriyalar berishdan to'xtatib qo'ymagan ekan. Now Tahlil has found a way to test this idea, borrowing a technique from evolutionary biologists. Xo'p, ketdik. Bu qismda keywordlarni belgilab oldim. Shu keywordlar orqali, masalan, bu qismda summary yozib o'tirmayman-da. Men bu qismda summary yozardim oldin. Lekin hozir yozib o'tirmayman-da. Prosta o'sha keywordlarga qarab sizlarga tushuntirib ketishga harakat qilaman. Bo'ldi, ketdik. To work out the evolutionary history, development, and relationships among groups of organisms, biologists compare the characteristics of living species in a process called phylogenetic analysis. Evolutionary historyni ko'rish uchun phylogenetic analysis qilar ekan. Use the same approach to compare related versions of fairy tales to discover how they evolved and which elements have survived longest. Elements survived longest. Tahlil analysis demak bu qismda biologlardan olganligini haqida ma'lumot bor ekan. Tahlil's analysis focused on Little Red Riding Hood in its main forms, which include another western fairy tale known as The Wolf and the Kids, checking for variants of these two tales and similar stories from Africa, East Asia, and other regions. He ended up with 58 stories recorded from oral traditions. Once his phylogenetic analysis has established that they were indeed related, he used the same methods to explore how they have developed and altered over time. Demak, o'zingiz ko'rganingizdak, Little Red Riding Hoodni anavlarini topgan ekan, hamma joyda bor ekan, 58 ta istoriya bor ekan, ular bir-biriga bog'liq ekan va bog'liqligini topgan ekan, ular qanchalik rivojlanganligi, o'zgarganligini topishga harakat qilgan ekan. Ketdik. First, he tested some assumptions about which aspect of the story alter the list as it evolves, indicating their importance. Hop, folklorists believe what happens in a story is more central to the story than folklorists believe what happens is more important than characters, that visiting a relative only to be met by a scary animal in disguise is more fundamental than whether its visitor is a little girl or 3 siblings or the animal is a tiger instead of a wolf. Tushunarli. However, Tahlil found no significant difference in the rate of evolution of incidents compared with shunga qaramasdan Tahlilning evolution of incidents compared with characters. O'sha berilgan vaziyatlar, berilgan holatlarni evolyutsiyasini xarakterlarni berilgan evolyutsiyasi bilan qaraganda significant difference, ya'ni juda ham katta farq topilmagan ekan. Certain episodes are very stable because they are crucial to the story. Demak, epizodlar stable, ya'ni o'zgarmas, chunki muhim story uchun, but there are lots of other details that can evolve quite freely. Tushunarli bo'ldi deb o'ylayman sizlar uchun ham. Neither did his analysis support that the theory that the central section of the story is the most conserved part. Neither did this analysis support the theory that the central section of the story is the most conserved part. He found no significant difference in the flexibility of events and compared with the beginning or end. Tushunarli. Demak, bu qismda central section ya'ni holatlarning o'zgarishini ham anonni ko'rmabdi. Masalan, beginning bilan end bilan flexibility of eventlarni farqini ko'rmabdi. But the really big surprise came when he looked at the cautionary elements. Big surprise keyword bu qismda o'zingiz bilishingiz kerak. Masalan, intuitivni tushunib qolasiz. Nima keyword ekanligini bu qismda, demak, bu qismda big surprise keyword bo'ladi. Bu big surprise ga qarashimiz kerak. Big surprise keyin hozir ko'ramiz nima kerakligini. Cautionary element, ya'ni caution degani e'tiborli bo'lish kerakligi haqidagi elementlarni ko'rsatish ekan. Kimdir menga yozibdi. Okay. But the really big surprise came when he looked at the cautionary elements of the story. Studies on hunter-gatherer folk tales suggest that these narratives include really important information about the environment, and possible dangers that may be faced there, stuff that is relevant to survival, he says. Yet his analysis such elements were just as flexible as seemingly trivial details. Demak, as flexible as seemingly trivial details. Demak, bu qismda analiziga qaraganda o'sha cautionary element ham bemalol o'zgarib ketaverar ekan, flexible ekan. What then is important enough to be reproduced from generation to generation? Unda nima muhim o'zi generationdan generationga o'tishi uchun? The answer, it would appear, is fear. Demak, answer is fear. Javob keldi. A bloodthirsty and gruesome aspects of the story, such as the eating of the grandmother by a wolf, gruesome and bloodthirsty aspect, such as eating of the grandmother, turned out to be the best preserved of all. Demak, o'sha yomon vaziyatlari, qo'rqinchli vaziyatlari zo'r preserved bo'lgan. Why are these details retained by generations of storytellers when other features are not? The hearer has an idea. In an oral context, a story won't survive because of one great teller. It also needs to be interesting. And when it's told by someone who is not necessarily a great storyteller, maybe being swallowed by a wolf when cut out of his stomach alive is so gripping that it helps with the story remain popular no matter how badly it's told. Tushunarli. Warren Buffettdan hozir esimga tushib ketdi-da. Anasi borda mana. Aytadi, find the stupidest businesses and people who are stupidest who are running it, because sometimes stupidest people will run them. Bu degani shu. Qanchalik ananga odamga ishonib qolmas kerak, sistemaga ishonib qolish kerak. Bu o'qishning xuddi shunaqa gap bo'lgan ekan, sistemaga bo'lgan ekan. Xo'p, hozir men bir minut kiraman. Ishlab qolib qolay. Jack Zaps at the University of Minnesota, Minneapolis is unconvinced keyword by Tahlil's views on fairy tales. Even if they are gruesome, they won't stick unless they matter. The keyword is matter. It says he believes, continue working. Take headphones if it's like annoying. He believes that the perennial theme of women as victims, in some stories like Little Red Riding Hood. Dear Lord, what the hell is it? Explains why they continue to feel relevant, but Tehrani points out that also this is often the case in Western versions. It's not always true elsewhere. In Chinese and Japanese versions, often known as the tiger grandmother, the villain is a woman, and in both Iran and Nigeria, the victim is a boy. Okay, we got it. Mathian Klassen at Aarhus University in Denmark is surprised by the Tehrani's findings. Not surprised. Habits and morals change, but the things that scare us, the fact that we seek our entertainment that's designed to scare us, are constant. The Clayson believes that scary stories teach us what it feels like to be afraid without having to experience real danger, so build up resistance to negative emotions. Xo'p, demak, keyword o'zingiz ko'rganingizdek, bu qismda scary javob bo'lgan. Xo'p, endi javoblarni birgalikda topib chiqamiz, chunki hammasini o'qidik. What method did Jamie Tehrani use to test his idea about fairy tales? O'zingiz ko'rganingizdek, method ismi ana bor edi, mana bunaqa ism bor edi. Phylogenetic analysis degan narsa bor edi, o'shani topamiz. He compared oral and written forms of the same stories. Nope. He looked at many different, oral written narsa yo'q. He looked at many different, I'm gonna die now. Many different forms of the same basic story. Correct. Chunki many different forms 58 storyni ko'rgan ekan. Same basic story ekan. He looked at unrelated stories in many different countries. Unrelated storiesga qaramagan. He contrasted the development of fairy tales with that of living creatures. What? He contrasted the development of fairy tales with that of living creatures. Well, no. What method He contrasted the development of fairy tales with that of living creatures. Demak, bu qismda ikkita variantim bor mana. Ikkita variantimni ko'rishim kerak. Agar topolmasam, sharmanda bo'ladi. Xo'p. Mana, to work out the evolutionary history, a development xo'p. It's called phylogenetic analysis. It's the same approach to compare relative stories. Mana, compare related stories of fairy tales to discover how they evolved. No, it's not about fairy tales and living creatures. No, that's why it's not D. The answer is not D. The answer is B will be correct. Probably, I don't know. When discussing Tehrani's views, Jack Zipes suggested. Jack Zipes ko'rishimiz kerak. Jack Zipes aytdi, men senga ishonmayman, unaqa perennial theme muhimroq deganda o'sha odam edi. O'shani topamiz. Suggest that Tehrani ignores key change in the role of no. Bu qismda ignore key change degan narsada yo'q. O'sha uchun aytib ketdi. Stories which are too horrific are not always taken seriously. Maybe too horrific taken seriously. No, unaqa ham ma'lumot yo'q, chunki unaqa seriously degan narsa yo'q. O'ta kulgu sifatida qabul qilishadi degan narsa yo'q. Tehrani overemphasizes the importance of violence. Bu bor, chunki mana aytdi, sen ko'p ananga grusumga aniqlasan, ko'p e'tibor berasan, lekin unaqa emas. Agar ahamiyati bo'lmasa, stick qilmaydi degan javob to'g'ri bo'lishi kerak. Features of stories only survive if they have a deeper significance. Dedi. Maybe. Right. Bu javob to'g'ri bo'lar ekan. Demak, C ham bo'lmaydi. Chunki only survive deeper significance. Mana bunda bor. Even if they are gruesome, they won't stick unless they matter, he says. Demak, bu significance matter, survive, stick. Keywordlar bo'ladi, shuning uchun ham dinni tanlayman. O'zingiz ko'rganingizdek, javoblar bir-biriga juda ham yaqin. E'tibor bermasangiz, menimcha ma'lumotni o'tkazib yuborasiz. Shuning uchun ham keywordlarga qarashingiz kerak, e'tiborli bo'lib o'qishingiz kerak. Hamma narsani tushunish yetmaydi. Hamma narsani tushunganingiz bilan agar e'tibor bermagan bo'lsangiz, to'liq fokus bilan o'qigan bo'lsangiz, baribir savollarga javoblarni o'tkazib yuborasiz. O'shuning uchun ham mana maslahatim, agar readingiz kuchli bo'lmasa, shunday passive olingda taxmin qilib qo'ying. Masalan, hammasini D belgilasangiz ham hech bo'lmasa komanda bittasi to'g'ri chiqadi, lekin o'zingiz bajarsangiz birortasi ham to'g'ri chiqmaydigan vaziyatlar bo'ladi. Real shunaqa vaziyatlar bo'ladi. O'sha uchun ham tinchgina taxmin qilgan yaxshi. Agar kuchli bo'lmasangiz, 20 dan plyus chiqmadimi, taxmin qiling. Maslahatim, chunki 20 dan oshira olmasangiz, sizni levelingiz unaqa yetarli bo'lmadi. Aytmoqchi bo'lganim, sizlarni hozir reading test qilishdan discourage qilayotganim yo'q. Agar imtihoningizga yaqin qolgan bo'lsa, imtihoningizga 1 oy qolgan bo'lsa ham, agar 20 plyus chiqyaptimi, 20 plyus chiqmayaptimi, 20, 21, 22 atrofida aylanib yuribdimi, passive reading qilish umuman o'ylab o'tirmang. Chunki mana o'zingiz ko'rganingizdek qiyin bo'ladi. Baribir topamiz javoblarni. O'shuning uchun ham ikkita passive zo'r qilish kerak edi, uchinchi passive shunday guess qilish kerak. Masalan, tasavvur qiling, hozir men ko'ramiz. Multiple choice hamma savollarni qilyapman. Qancha to'g'ri chiqadi? Birinchi to'g'ri chiqishdan oldin hammasini guess qilib ko'raylik. Masalan, tasavvur qiling, masalan, ikkinchisida B javob bo'ldi, 38da D javob bo'ldi. Masalan, men hammasini taxmin qilib D qiladigan bo'lsam, bitta javob to'g'ri bo'ladi. Taxmin qilamiz, hammasi D bunda. Buni ko'ramiz. Nimaga men oxirida boshladim? Buni taxmin qilib bo'lmaydi. Good luck finding the translation of these things. Xo'p, taxmin qilib bo'ladi buni ham. Buni ham taxmin qilib ko'ramiz hozir. Buni ham taxmin qilib ko'ramiz. O'xshar ekanmi, yo'q ekan. Why bo'ldi? 38 topdik. Why does Tehrani refer to Chinese? Chinese and Japanese variables. Tehrani nimaga Japanese va Chinese'larga e'tibor berganligini ko'rish uchun mana ko'rasiz. Chinese and Japanese'da villainlar ayol kishi bo'ladi. O'shani ko'rishingiz mumkin. Bu qismda villainni kim bo'lishi farqi yo'q degan ma'noni anglatgan bo'lishi kerak. Topamiz buni ham. Indicate Jack Zipper's theory is incorrect. Correct. It's one that says crime is a global problem. Nope. No information about it. Implies that all fairy tales have similar meaning. Nope. And more evidence. Nope. Demak javob A bo'ladi. What does Matthews Clayton believe about fairy tales? Nimani ishonar ekan? Demak, Clayton also believes that it's like fear is a contributing factor. Mana scare us. Demak, hammasi bor. Mana ko'ring, Clayton believes that scaries teach us what it feels like to be afraid without having experience of real danger. Safe way to learning deal with fear. Correct. Types of entertainment that some people avoid. Nope. Information about avoiding reflect the changing values. Nope. No information about changing values or reflecting the changing values. Reduce our ability to deal with real world problems. No. That's why it's this A. Ikkita A javob bo'lar ekan, A'ni belgilaganingizda ikkita javob to'g'ri bo'lardi. O'shuning uchun ham bu lotereya. Agar hammasini ishlata olmasangiz yoki bilmasangiz nima qilishni. Phylogenetic analysis of Little Red Riding Hood. So, bu qismda birinchi navbatda guess qilamiz. Guessdan keyin ko'ramiz qanaqa javoblar bo'lar ekan. Tehrani used birinchi keywordlarni tanlab olish kerak. Tehrani used techniques from evolutionary biology to find out what if existed among stories around the world. If similarities existed, demak javob similarity bo'lishi kerak. Topamiz. Ending, link, horror, event, record, people, warning, variation, plot. Link bo'lishi kerak javob. Xo'p, demak bu qismda men taxminiy javobim link. O'qimasdan turib keyin topishimiz mumkin. Ending yo'q, ending exist bo'lishi mumkin emas, horror exist bo'lishi mumkin emas, event exist bo'lishi aniq, u logik to'g'ri kelgan javob. Records, nope. People exist, nope. Warnings, nope. Variations bo'lishi mumkin. Plot exists, of course plot exists. What are you talking about? Demak, keyingisiga o'tamiz. He also wanted to know which aspect of stories had fewest changes degan ma'lumot bor edi. Links, endings, horrors, events, record, people, warning, plot, variations. Demak, javob variations bo'lishi aniq. Xo'p, F bo'ldi, F chiqib ketdi. Demak, F chiqib ketganligi uchun ham buni javobini o'zgartiramiz. Xo'p, demak javobini o'zgartiramiz. Mana qilamiz. Okay. F chiqib ketdi. D chiqib ketdi. Contrary to other beliefs, he found that some that were included in story tend to change over time. Some events seem to no more important than the other parts. Yeah, of course, events tended to change. Okay, that's it. And the middle of the what? He was also surprised that parts of the story which seemed to provide some sort of were unimportant. What? Come on. He was also surprised that some parts of the story which seemed to provide some sort of something were unimportant. What? Warning. Maybe. Buni aniq bilmayman. Xo'p, topamiz. The aspect that he found most important in a story of survival was horror. Probably horror, because horror is horror part. G is answer. Xo'p, demak bu qismda javoblarni yana bir qayta ko'rib chiqishga harakat qilamiz. G ni ishlatdik. FTP dan ishlatdik. FTP. Bo'ldi. Demak, bu qismda tekshirib o'tirmayman. O'zlari tekshira olsa kerak bo'lsa, charchadim. Why are you laughing? Bo'ldi. O'zlari topib olsa kerak bo'lsa. Xo'p, in fairy tale details of the plot may provide a role. Nope. Are reasons for nope. Show considerable global variation. Of course, show global considerable variation. Demak, C bo'ladi. Balki xatodir. Tahlil rejects the idea that useful information, useful lesson for life in fairy tales. Rejects the idea. Tahlil, what does he reject? What does this guy reject? Contain animals? Nope. Originally spoken? Nope. Have been developed without sexual base? Nope. May provide through methods. Are reasons for their survival? What are they talking about? Reasons for their survival. Of course it is. B bo'ladi. Various theories about the social significance of fairy tales. What? Maybe provide nope. Contain animals. No, have been developed without sexual basis. Of course, have been developed without sexual basis. Lekin tushuntirishim kerak-da ularni har bittasini nimaga unaqa bo'ladi, nimaga bunaqa bo'ladi, lekin yoqmayapti hozir. Insights into the development of fairy tales. E. I don't know why. All the fairy tales analyzed by Tahlil contain animals which transfer to nope. Original spoken rather than written. Of course, original spoken rather than written. Maybe. That's it. I'm done. Bo'ldi. Bugungi video tugadi. Shu bilan xafa bo'lmaysiz agar tushunarsiz bo'lib qolgan bo'lsa, shu bilan bugungi videoga yakun yasaymiz. Hammaga ko'rganingiz uchun rahmat. That's it.